Okay, so we're continuing on Chapter 8, Section 2, which is about linear equations, two variables, x and y. And let me just pause for a second. Okay, we're on to problem number 16, which is like 13. Find the x and y intercepts given, and then graph, given the equation, then graph it. So let's write it down. 16, 3y plus x equals 6. So like we did in the previous example, we're basically setting up a table here which has this number of entries. You don't have to actually set up this table. I'm just using this as a kind of a basis. So you have your x value and you have your y value. And when x equals 0, you get the y-intercept. And when you have y equal to 0, you get the x-intercept. Like that. So all you have to do is you set x equal to 0 in this equation, solve for y to get that. Set x equal to 0, solve y equal to 0, solve for x. So the first case here is we set x equal to 0 in the equation. We can drop the 0. We divide by 3 to solve for y, and we get y equals 2. So that's the y-intercept. So the second case is we let y equals 0. So we get 3 times 0 plus x equals 6. 3 times 0 is 0. Drop the 0. And we get x equals 6. So that's the x-intercept. So we can, I'll just put that in here. So the y-intercept is 2, the x-intercept is 6. Another way of doing it is by showing the coordinates. So the y-intercept is 0, 2 from this one. X is 0, y is 2, and the x-intercept is x equals 6, y equals 0. Oh, and we're supposed to graph it. So again, you only need 2 points. And the reason this procedure works well is because you kind of want to know what the x and y intercepts are anyway. Also, solving for x and y is easy when you set one of them equal to 0, the other one equal to 0. Okay, so there's my graph paper. Again, we're going to make this the y-axis, this is the x-axis. This is positive 10, this is positive 10, this is negative 10, this is negative 10, this is 0, 0. So our 2 points are 0, which means x equals 0, which is this vertical line here, and y equals 2. So that's my y-intercept because I'm intersecting the y-axis. And my x-intercept is 6. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And those are the two points. I just need 2 points. So I'm going to draw this line. And because of the way this thing works, it's hard to, without getting exactly right the first time. So what I'm trying to do is just find a parallel, make a line that's parallel to these 2 points, and I can just kind of slide it down. And once I have that in place, I can make it longer if I wanted to. Either way, like that. Okay. So that is the graph for the equation 3y plus x equals 6. Okay, we'll to 19. So 19 is x minus 3y is equals 2. Set up my little table. The first column is the x value. Second column is the y value. So when this is 0, this is the y-intercept. And when this is 0, this is the x-intercept. So if we do the first one, we'll set x equal to 0. We get that. We can drop the 0. We divide both sides by -3. So -3 divided by -3 is 1. 2, so 2 divided by 3 is just -2/3. So if you wanted to do that decimal-wise, it'd be 0.6. You draw a line over top, which means it's 0.6666666. So my y-intercept is actually x equals 0, y equals -2/3. I'm going to leave it as a fraction. Okay, then you have the y-intercept, the x-intercept, set y equal to 0. So you get x minus 3 times 0 is equals 2. X minus 0 equals 2. X equals 2. So my coordinates of the x-intercept is going to be 2, 0. So I can go over here. This one's going to be 0, -2/3. It's going to be 2, 0. So those are my coordinates of the x-intercept and the y-intercept. So my y-axis, my x-axis is +10, -10. That's not -10. +10. -10, +10, -10. Okay, so the x-intercept is right here. The y-intercept was -2/3, which would place you about there. And so the plot is through those points. Now, if you were plotting it by hand, you would use a ruler and kind of figure out exactly where you need it to be. Okay, so that's it. That's the plot. You just draw a straight line through the x and y intercepts. Okay, next one. What do we got? 22. Okay, so this is the last one of these. So you get 2x minus y equals 0. Okay, so this is one of these special cases. And so if you set x equal to 0, you'll get 0. And if you set y equal to 0, you'll get 0. So it goes through the origin. So let's just show that's true using what we've learned so far. So again, I'm plotting x versus y. When x equals 0, you get the y-intercept. When you set y equal to 0, you get the x-intercept. And you can see if I set x equal to 0, I get 2 times 0 minus y equals 0, or 0 minus y equals 0, or negative y equals 0. Or if you divide by -1, 0 divided by -1 is still 0, so you get y equals 0. Okay, so that's the answer here, 0, 0. And the same thing will happen if you set x equal to 0, you'll get, y equal to 0, you'll get 2x equals 0, divide by 2, you get 0, so it's 0, 0. So the problem here is that you actually need one more entry, you need one more point. It doesn't matter, you can arbitrarily pick what the other one is. We do know that it goes through the origin, but we don't know any other point. So I'm just going to pick x equals 1. So I'm going to put x equals 1 here, so you get 2 times 1 minus y equals 0. 2 times 1 is 2. Subtract 2 from both sides. You get negative y is equal to -2. Divide by -1. negative y divided by negative 1 is positive y. Negative 2 divided by negative 1 is 2. So I get 2. So I now have 2 points. I have 0, 0, and 1, comma 2. So because of that, I can do the graph. So again, y, x. One point is 0, comma 0, which is both the x and y intercept. And the second case was x equals 1, y equals 2, which puts me there. That gives me 2 points. And the only disadvantage of what I did was when these are close together, you're not necessarily being able to draw the most accurate result. So you might even pick a point further out here. And that's what I kind of did. I knew these had to go up over 1 and up 2, over 1 and up 2, over 1 and up 2. And so I knew when I got here that they had to cross off. Okay. So trying to decide whether to do the next group. Yeah, let's go ahead and do that one. Include those in there. 29 through 36. So the things to remember here is that if you solve for x or y, if you get y equals a positive number, like positive 1, this is a vertical line. And this is actually it's a horizontal line. So y equals something is a horizontal line. And because once I've solved for y, I get plus 1, it's above the x-axis. Now if I had y equals negative 1, then it would be also a horizontal line. But it's going to be below the x-axis. And the reason I'm using these descriptors, if you look at A, B, and C, some are above, some are below, some are to the left, some are to the right. So all you have to really do is look at the sign. So this is a vertical line. That means it's straight up and down. And this is to the right of the y-axis. And if you have a negative number for x equals something, it's still a vertical line, and it's to the left of x-axis, or y-axis. So all you have to do to solve these problems is to solve for x or y, and what we'll do is we'll just solve, and then we can use these to describe which one matches up. So the first one, if you solve for y, you get y equals negative 2. 30, you get y is equal to negative 4. 31, you get x is equal to negative 3. 32, you get x is equal to negative 7. 33, you get y is equal to positive 2. 34, you get y is equal to positive 4. 35, 36. Solve 35, you get y equals x equals 3, and you get x equals 7. You can see the consecutive ones here have the same sign, the same one. So this is a y equals something is a horizontal line, and these are both negative, so they're going to be below the x-axis. So we look there at the A, B, C, and D. Well, C and D are horizontal lines. D is above, C is below. So these are both going to be C. X is negative. X equals is a vertical line, and they're negative, so it's going to be to the left. So we go to the pictures again. We see A and B are both vertical lines, and A is to the left. 33 and 34 are positive numbers. Y is equals something is a horizontal line, so it's going to either be C or D. D is the one that's above the axis, and as a consequence, the next one is going to be B, but the reason it's B is because X equals something is a vertical line, and positive numbers here mean that it's to the right of the y-axis. So that means it's going to be B. So that's those. Okay, those are pretty trivial. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to calculate slope by using a formula. So that's pretty straightforward. The only issue people have is just getting signs right when you have negative numbers in the coordinate pair. So what these represent are 2 points, and I'll plot them just so you can see what it looks like. So let's go ahead and add a page, and we're going to put a piece of graph paper over here. Actually, I think I'm going to drag it over here so it's in the same place. Okay, so -3, 4. -4, 3 again. First number is x, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4 in the negative direction, +3 in the y direction. So that's this point. And then we go -3, +4. So 1, 2, 3 in the negative direction, 1, 2, 3, 4 in the positive direction. So the line is going to be something like that. So it's going to be a positive slope. It actually looks like it's going to be 1, slope of 1, because you have rise over run, 1 over 1. But we'll prove it using the formula. And the formula says the slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And all you have to do is say one of these is the first point, and the other one's the second point. And it's completely arbitrary. I mean, it makes sense that this is the first point because it's the first number written, but it doesn't make any difference in terms of solving the solution, getting the solution. So now, once you have the equation, you have these things labeled, you just go up here and match them up and be very careful. So y2 is 4. We subtract y1. y1 is 3. We divide by x2, which is -3. And we subtract x1, which is -4. So you can see here we've got this negative thing. So let's not get carried away. We'll go ahead and do this first. So negative, basically what we're doing is -1 times -4. Or we're taking 4 and we're taking the additive inverse of -4. Well, the additive inverse is just changing the sign. So something that's -4 becomes +4, and something that's +4 becomes -4. So negative of a negative is a positive. That's kind of the way. So you get -3 plus 4. Now we could just switch the order of operation as far as math addition is concerned at this point, and I could do that. Or I could just do the math up here. So let's do it both ways. So here you have 4 minus 3, which we know is 1. -3 plus 4 is also 1. So how do you do that besides putting in your calculator? Well, one way to think about it, again, is with the number line. -3, so we start with the first number, which is -3. And adding a number, adding means you move to the right on the number line. So it says we move 1, 2, 3, 4 places. So we get that. Now also notice if I switch the order, it's obvious 4 minus 3 is a 1. On the number line, you start at 4, and then subtracting means you go to the left. 1, 2, 3 units to the left. Come to the same point, doesn't matter. So 1 divided by 1 is 1. So the slope is 1. That's your slope right there. And that's what we said it looked like from plotting it out. Okay, our next number is 40. What did I do? 42. I don't know. I think I was supposed to do 41. I think I was looking at my homework list incorrectly. Okay, we won't actually plot, we'll just do the math. And so the 2 points are -2, -3, and -1, 5. So I'm going to call this x sub 1, comma, y sub 1. This is x sub 2, comma, y sub 2. Slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So just be very careful. y2 is 5. Subtract y1, subtract to -3. x2 is -1, and we subtract a -2. Okay, so let's take care of these double negative things here. So you get 5. Negative of a negative becomes positive. Then we have -1. Negative of a negative is a positive. 2 plus 2. Okay. Now, again, I'm going to switch the order there. 2 minus 1 instead of -1 plus 2. 5 plus 3 is 8. 2 minus 1 is 1. Go ahead and do the, don't just leave it as that, finish it off. So the slope is 8. Okay, next one, 44. 13 comma -3 and 5 comma 6. Okay, again, write this down, x1, y1, x2, y2. Slope equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. y2 is 6. Subtract y1, just -3. x2 is 5. x1 is 13. So we have 6 minus a -3. So negative of -3 is +3. Now in this case I can't switch them and really do much good because it doesn't really help out in terms of making it easier to evaluate. So let's just do the numerator. 6 plus 3 is 9. 5 minus 13 is -8. And so the final answer is -9/8. So that's your final answer. Now, if you have a calculator, you should be able to do this. What we learned the first semester was that if you subtract two numbers, what you do is you basically always subtract the smaller number for the larger number. So you take 13 minus 5, which is 8. And then they say if the larger number is a negative number, then the final answer of the original subtraction is not 8, but is -8. So it depends upon which is the bigger negative number. That's one way of thinking about it. The other one, of course, is a number line. So if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units here, subtracting 13 is going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so I've started at 5. I've gone -13 units, and so relative to 0, that's -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8. That's -8. Anyway, the answer is -9/8. Okay. Second, it says use methods of example 5 to graph each line. We're going to go to 49. So I'm given the slope, which you can calculate from this if you know 2 points, and it's through this line, this point, -3, 2. So let's go back to example 5 and see what they say right there. So what it says is, first you plot the point, and then use the definition, the slope, to move up to define a second point. So all we have to do in this case is have a graph. And what m equals 1/2 means that the slope equals 1/2. And remember, the slope is the rise divided by the run. And this is from left to right. So rise is up, obviously. Actually, a positive number, positive rise means move up. A negative rise is move down. So run is always positive. So really, in this case, because it's positive, it doesn't really matter. So what we have is we have a +1 rise and a +2 run. Okay, so first thing you do is going to plot the point, which is -1, 2, 3, x, +2y. So there we go. And then you start at this point and you just follow the instructions. So you can either do the rise or the run first, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do a rise of 1 and a run of 2. So that's my second point. Or I could do a run of 2 and a rise of 1. You know, the order doesn't matter. But I'm always moving from left to right. Now, do I use these 2 points to draw my line? Well, I could. The only issue with that is drawing a line accurate through these 2 points. So what you can do is continue to do this same slope. So you go rise of 1, run of 2, 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 and you get a point way out here. Let's make sure I did that right. Up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2. So what that does for me is if I draw a line from here to there, that's my line, and then I could then continue to draw it. And you'll notice that I'm looking to make sure that I continue to go through these intersections. So that gives me the most accurate representation of that line. Okay, let me see if I'm going to finish. I'm doing one more of those and then I'm going to start another video. So then we have 49. I already did 49, so the next one's 52, I guess. 52. So we have slope equal to -3/2 through point -1, -2. So the slope equals -3/2. And we're going to put the negative with the numerator because that way we'll be moving positive, run, rise or run. So what we can say is that the rise is -3 with a corresponding run of +2. Okay, so the point is -1, -2, -1, -2. That's my start point. So what I do is I rise -3. So a negative rise is moving down. So I go down 1, 2, 3 over 2. Put the point. Down 3 over 2. Down, well, I'll run out of space there. Now, you could actually go the other direction. So what happens there is you'd actually switch the sign. So if you're going from right to left, that's left to right, that's what you use. But if you were going, so this is left to right. If you go from right to left, what you're going to do is the run's going to be negative, so the rise has to change sign. So the rise becomes positive 3, and the run becomes negative 2. So we go negative 2, positive 3, negative 2, positive 3, 1, 2, 3, negative 2, positive 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so all those points should fit on, if we did this correctly, should fit on the same line. And there we go. So you can see it goes through the point negative 1, negative 2, and it has a run of 2, rise of negative 3, or a run of negative 2 and a rise of positive 3.